My name is Alia Phillips, and I'm the Community Relations Director for the City of Dearborn. I come to government work from more campaign side work. I work a lot in field. Something that I think is really lovely about a campaign is the ability to create this massive organizing capacity. But the problem is that election day, like poof, everything just disappears, and all of that capacity, all of that community that you've built just leaves. When I came to this job, I wanted to create something that was similar in its organizational capacity and its kind of work capacity and community building capacity as a campaign would be, but that doesn't just disappear. That is where the idea for the Mayor's Service Corps came from, is to create that like campaign community and that campaign urgency. So the idea is that a resident can call in and say, you know, I am elderly or I'm disabled, I don't have any kids in the house, and I am having a really hard time shoveling my snow. Usually we have a system that kind of just like brute force pushes students and older folks together to get this done. It is one man who does all of it, and he is lovely, but I think he would really appreciate it if we took that off of his plate, because it's just kind of like a brute force, like, okay, you go here.
There were 6 of us as a part of a course project working with the City of Dearborn to build a volunteer management system. Just how extensive this project was is wild. How do you get volunteers? How do you train them? How do you authorize them if maybe they need parent permission? Are there legal consequences of this? Who is getting volunteer services? How do you make sure the right people are being prioritized? There was just a massive number of things within this stew of volunteer management system. So information professionals are super great at getting stakeholder buy-in, getting people inspired, and showing what is possible on a timeline that is like neatly chunked up the problem into these digestible and accomplishable steps. We know municipalities, government, public resources in the US have resource-constrained limits that they're working up against. How we break down the problem is really what adds value. So providing clear next steps, breaking open silos and creating clear communication pathways between different stakeholders. A highlight from this experience was going on site to where our end users, high school students, are, and leading a focus group, or what could be called a workshop, to see what are some things that you care about when you're volunteering. And so it was through this very close collaboration with high school students in focus groups, we were able to understand the balance between these things. It's not just that they are, trying to enrich their resume and advance their career. That is true, but it is also true that they want to hang out with their friends, because what's at stake for them is staying at home on a snow day and playing video games with their BFF. So this allows us to be really sensitive and empathetic toward what our end user is really experiencing and how to welcome them into the volunteer opportunities that are out there. A version of our solution we came up with existed within the community partner that we were working with, and they just didn't know about it. So there was internally a communication gap that, this is very profound and a big deal for us, because there's existing resources and ideas that can be tapped into to unlock all of this volunteer potential.
The prototype we took to the Dearborn Public High was a kind of first stage initial prototype. The high schoolers loved it. I will say National Honor Society was the one who was mostly providing them with local activities that they could sign up for, and those are filled up almost immediately. So there were this surplus of students that were looking for hours and trying to get them, but there weren't any activities. Like the contrary to that, we were working with Alia, who had a mass amount of residents needing help, but no way to access volunteers in a very streamlined method. So it was a kind of funny situation that when we went and performed these tests with the high schoolers, we really saw that firsthand, and we're really surprised at the just number of people who were wanting to work with us and also wanting to have a better system to use. Their biggest thing that they wanted more than anything as an app feature was to be able to connect with their friends. So we catered the app to that. And also considering additional safety concerns of having high schoolers on these trips and someone completing activity alone. So we leaned into that community aspect, which was something that Alia was wanting and encouraging.
So my thought process is I want to get this project started. How do we start showing kind of proof of concept for the whole, service corps as a whole, while we are then simultaneously trying to develop this application that's probably going to take a long time. They were really, really smart to go directly to the students, to meet with them, to understand kind of what are the applications or the processes and programs that they are currently using, and how do we then implement and integrate those pieces. So it's kind of this 3-step process of how do we use, technologies that are existing within the city currently, working with our IT department to kind of like bridge that gap between where we were and where ultimately I'd like to get to, because I don't want to compromise on anything. How do we merge all of those things together? So I kind of see it as like 3 steps in a continuum towards getting what I want in the application, and what I want is everything. So
accessibility and access to information is something that's incredibly important. Encouraging interactions between the public, between the partners, and between the government space. You can build something beautiful that way, and it's kind of exciting.